Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right in your relationship? You're putting in what you think is the right amount of effort, attention, affection. You feel like you're doing all the things, but your partner still feels unloved. They still are coming to you either, I don't want to say nagging, but like feeling a certain type of way, and you're just frustrated because you're like, I'm doing all these things. I love you. But the problem is you might be speaking to the wrong love language.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Touch My Health podcast. My name is Matt.
I'm Katie.
Today we are talking about love languages. I didn't know what these were.
I didn't know that this was a thing until probably about right before you and I started dating,
Yeah,
about 3 years ago.
that's about the same for me as
Um,
well.
yeah, I think I was the one who told you about love languages.
You might have been. Yeah, so we have a question for you guys, the audience. What's your love language? And if you're in a relationship, do you know what your partner's love language is in your relationship?
Right. Or, have they just totally missed it? You missed it. Someone like us who didn't even realize that that was a thing, but there's a disconnect somewhere. So I know I can think back to some of my relationships and I can clearly see that there was a gap there. There was a disconnect in the love languages because some were um, more physical, some were more emotional, and we'll get into what the five different types of love languages are. But I know when I look back on personal experiences, personal relationships,
Hmm.
I can, after knowing what I know now, I can definitely see the mismatch and the gap and where that could have been different. I don't know about you.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't really know too much about what love languages were until a few years ago. So diving into it, I kind of was trying to figure out my own love language versus trying to figure out past partners' love languages.
Right. But knowing what you know now, when you think back on past relationships, does anything kind of click to you like, oh,
Yeah,
this is why maybe we had this disconnect or this argument? Or, I mean, I know for one for you, for your, when you were married, I mean,
yeah,
because that person was not a physical touch person, and that's a
right.
big one for you. So obviously that created a big gap
Yeah,
there.
there was a big gap in my failed marriage because again, I didn't know what these love languages were, and had I known, it may have been a little bit of a better marriage till the end. But um, yeah, hers was quality time, and uh, I don't really know. Uh, if I understood that or if I comprehended that
Hmm.
completely. That was her
Yeah.
big one was quality time.
Yes, I think knowing your love language, knowing your partner's love language is extremely important. It's
Definitely.
very, very important. And it brings me back to the episode we did on attachment styles because they're very relatable. But if it's one of those things though, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You don't even know that something like that exists or is even a thing.
Yeah.
You could just be thinking, we're not a good match. We don't connect, or, he does this or she does this and blah, blah, blah. And it could just be something as simple as, you have a particular type of love language. And what that really boils down to is what makes you feel most loved? What makes your partner feel most loved? I mean, that's a big
Yeah.
part of your relationship.
Right. And trying
Oh.
to identify that and speaking and doing things to your partner's love language that really kind of
Hmm.
excels that really
Makes you grow together
yeah,
too.
lets you grow together
I'll
and
finish the
yeah,
sentence for
thank
you.
and really just enhances, that's the word I was looking for, really enhances your
Mhm.
relationship because you guys are now speaking the same language where maybe in a relationship where you don't know what each other's love languages are, you're basically, one person speaking English, one person speaking a Japanese, and It's
Hey, I have a fun game too. Take a shot every time we say love language because
yikes,
we're
I
gonna
might be
say it a
dead.
lot. You might be dead. But it's also, I think, helpful to know in arguments and conflict resolution because
Oh, big.
part of that too is when you're in conflict or in an argument, you may say things just to be hurtful or spiteful
Hmm.
or, and if you know your person's love language is, affirmations or words, then that could be a lot more detrimental to that person versus somebody who may not have, they're kind of one of those words will never hurt me. What's that? Sticks and stones
Yeah,
will break my
definitely.
bones. Or
Yeah,
never hurt me.
right.
I know I wish I knew about love languages a lot earlier than I learned about them. I don't think it necessarily would have changed the outcome of some of my relationships, but I think communication and connection and conflict resolution would have been a lot different. And some of them, it probably wouldn't even have gone, the relationships wouldn't even have gone as far as they did. Because I do think sometimes it's like oil and water.
Yep.
Some of them, if you have two, like when we get into them, they just don't mix. Like it's very hard to
Right. Yeah, it's
do that.
two different personalities, almost two different styles of loving each other, and that can be really difficult when you guys aren't meshing, and like you said,
Mm.
oil and water. So let's break down the five styles of love languages. First, let's name all five.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's go through all five
Yeah,
and then we'll kind of,
we'll break
break
it
down a
down.
little bit more. And once you hear them, you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, it totally makes sense.
There's five love languages, and Katie's going to tell you what all five are, and then we'll get into it and we'll break it down.
So the first one is words of affirmation. Um, Pretty self-explanatory, I think. But
The second one,
second one is acts of service, and then quality time,
fourth,
receiving gifts,
and fifth,
physical touch.
physical touch. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So to you, which one stands out the most as maybe people that you recognize or that you've been in relationships with? What do you think is the most prominent one for people in general?
People in general, I'm not sure. I know mine is physical touch. I know that's
Yeah,
my numero uno.
right. What do you think other people?
I feel like words of affirmation is probably on the top of the list. I think
Okay.
in today's society, and a lot of people now want to be affirmed and told, hey, I'm proud of you. I love you. You're
Hmm.
important to me.
Yep.
All those positive words.
Positive reinforcement,
Yeah, they
basically.
thrive on that encouragement. And I think that's a lot of where people are today.
Okay.
But
So words of affirmation is the first one.
mhm.
It's basically just praising someone, right? Saying, I love you, I'm proud of you, you're doing great. Um, Whenever you, I don't know, put the light bulb in the ceiling fan, you
Well,
did such a good job.
yeah. Well, I'd say that's kind of like an act of service, but I think of words of affirmation. Like if you text me throughout the day and you're like, babe, I just want to let you know, like you're doing such a great job. I'm really proud of you. And,
Right.
I know you've been working so hard on all these things and, or, say you're a stay-at-home mom or somebody and the dad works full time and him saying, I really appreciate everything
Appreciate
you
you.
do and that for this household and this family and vice versa. Her saying, I appreciate you sacrificing your time to go to work instead of staying here and,
No,
it's
a lot of stay-at-home parents in Texas. I've never lived in any other state than Texas
mhm.
that has, or than any other state that has more stay-at-home moms than Texas. And I think that's a big one because if you are the stay-at-home mom, then you want to know that the man of the house or whoever the breadwinner is comes home and appreciates a clean house. All the kiddos are taken care of, diapers are changed, dinner's made, whatever it is, they want to know and feel appreciated.
I think with words of affirmation, appreciation is a big one. It's
Hmm.
it's the encouragement and the appreciation that you are saying in your words.
Yep.
The second one is acts of service. And now, acts of service is doing something helpful, doing something small, maybe like, changing the light bulbs, making dinner, handling a chore, running an errand without having to be told. It's a way that the actions speak louder than the words.
Right. Makes
So
sense.
for you, I feel like acts of service is um, like when you make me breakfast. you know,
Yeah.
or and then you make me breakfast and I make your coffee. That's kind of like
That's
we
our
do that,
morning routine. I love that. Yeah.
yeah, and that what on the weekends and
Right.
during the week, but whenever we're home together in the morning.
Hmm.
But like that's an act of service, and you make dinner, and then I'll help clean up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You put the food away and I do the dishes.
because I hate dishes. Um, yeah, and then after we go through the five, we need to like rank ours.
Okay.
I think that would be a
Yeah.
good idea.
So I know that acts of service is mine, my way of showing you love, and it makes me feel good. And I don't specifically think that that's a huge one to you. I definitely think that the physical touch is more your number one, but uh, the way that I like to show love is acts of service, not necessarily buying and giving things like we'll get into the next one is receiving gifts, not necessarily getting
Here, let me
someone.
buy you a purse
Yeah,
or
not necessarily
watch or
buying
something.
you something to show my love. To me, that's buying love, and I feel a certain type of way about that. But acts of service and that to me is my favorite way to show love.
And that's your favorite way to show love because there's also a difference between showing and receiving love.
Yeah.
I think it's not that they go in any particular order, but I think when I mentioned them, I switched these two. But next one we'll get into is receiving gifts. And this isn't really about materialism. It's about the thoughtfulness behind it. So, you're at the store and you see your partner's favorite snack or beverage, or, you're driving home and you're like, I'm gonna run through Dutch Bros and grab you a coffee, or
That I
whatever
was
the case.
just thinking
You
about you
used
gift.
to, yeah, you used to, when you would go to the store, you would bring me back, Reese's cups and Slim Jims because those were my
That's our
favorite.
kryptonite right there.
Yeah. So it's just those small things that
It
add the
wasn't just the Slim Jim
thoughtfulness.
though. It was
Oh yeah,
the meat and cheese stick combo.
yeah,
Gross.
love them. They're Reese's and Slim Jim cheese stick things are my guilty pleasures.
Yeah,
But
before we started eating healthier
yeah,
and you're not,
before
yes, yeah,
yeah, all my
all your dietary restrictions, that was definitely your guilty pleasure.
yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think really shows somebody that you're thinking of them. Like
Mhm.
you said, it's about thoughtfulness. You can write a text message, "Hey, I'm thinking about you," da da da.
Which
And
is great because
it
that's
it is.
the words of affirmation.
Right. And I really think that that makes your partner feel great. And just writing a small note or saying, putting it in their, I don't know, their lunchbox maybe.
You've done that for me.
Saying, "Hey, babe, have a great day. I love you." Something, something along those lines. That's the receiving gifts.
Hmm.
It may not just be about materialistic things.
Yeah, exactly. The next one would be quality time.
Hmm.
This was one I actually, when I first was learning about all the love languages, it's surprisingly not one that I expected on here. I don't know why. But it is important. It's, undivided attention. No phones, no distractions, just you, me, and, we're fully present. So that
Mhm.
is a love language. Someone really like that is how they feel loved is by you giving them undivided attention and quality time.
Yeah.
I think out of all of them, this might be the one where if this is your love language, I don't know, maybe in today's society, it's probably one of the hardest ones to have.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like as a society and like whole, we're just always so go, 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 and the attention span is
Gosh.
so small, and it makes it hard to have undivided attention on one
Yeah.
person or one thing.
Yeah. There's so many
Um,
times that we go out and our rule is no phones at dinner time. That's our time to kind of spend together, have a conversation. We don't let our children have phones at the dinner table. To me, that's our quality time, and that in America, that's the most that's the meal that everybody spends the most time. Overseas or in like South America, they do lunch. Lunch, everybody takes a break from work. They go home for a couple hours and they have their lunchtime and then they
I
go
would take a
back to
nap.
right?
Not make
Yeah.
it, man. I would be like, we're going to lunch and then we have a couple hours.
Yeah.
Good night.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure, yeah. And that's I thought was pretty cool about uh the kid that lived with us in he was from Venezuela. They took lunch breaks, and that's how I learned about it is he lived with us when I was a junior in high school for a year, and he was a foreign exchange student, and he thought it was so weird coming to America that dinner time was where everybody congregated together. And I don't remember my parents ever talking about, not having distractions at dinner time, but I definitely think that's kind of where it came from because when we were growing up, we would turn the TV off and go sit down and have quality time between the family. And that's really, I guess, played a part. And when we go out to eat, we see people on their phones just
Yeah. Well, and back
constantly.
then too, we didn't have phones, so there really wasn't a lot. I mean, yeah, like you said, all you have to do is turn your TV off if you had
Yeah.
it on. I mean,
Yeah.
there was no iPad, iPhone, whatever. Yeah, I mean, and we've been at dinner, before too, and gotten caught up at, if it's just me and you and we're like doing business stuff, and then we're like, hey, okay, let's put our phones
Yeah.
down. Like,
Yeah. Just
let's
gotta
not,
catch each
yeah.
other.
But we also do spend quality time. Like we have puzzles we work on and quality time. Oh, that's right. I was going to say this is one when you make time intentionally to like have a date night or something, like that is really important
Big.
to you. You're like, we have a date night every Wednesday or Thursday. We making and setting that time aside is, if that is your love language, is really important.
Do you think it's important for one person to always make the date nights, or do you think that if you're in a relationship, each person should, I don't know, either take turns or somebody should.
Well, one, I think it's something that you should discuss because I think it's situational. If quality time is your like primary love language and that is what's important to you, and your partner's is like, physical touch or acts of service or words of
Mhm.
that may not it may not be as important to them as far as what you do and where you go. So they're like,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
plan it or, because I know this is really important to you and this is something that you are like, we have to do this. So, if you want my input, fine. But if and vice versa.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it just I know I'm an extremely laid back person, so I'm not super picky. If there's something I want to go do specifically, I'll be like, hey, can we go do such and such?
Right.
But if we've both planned date nights though. I
Yeah.
think we
Oh, yeah.
do that pretty equally. But yeah, I think that would be something that you just
Yeah.
to know.
That makes sense. I think it's important for both people, in my opinion. I think it's important for both people to if you're in a relationship, be doing the planning for a date night because then if there is any type of problem in a relationship where you don't take me out, da da da, you can both have a responsibility in that planning. And
Hmm.
I think it, kind of helps that connection between two people also is if I'm like, hey babe, let's like we just did a cooking class.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, we made Italian food. We made pasta
Fettuccine.
Alfredo. Yeah, fettuccine, pasta Alfredo, whatever. And I think the day before or the date before that, we did the aquarium day.
Hmm.
And you did most of the planning for that one. I think you had mentioned it, and then I, went on
No,
group.
you found it on Groupon.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I think it's important. I think it's important. Like I haven't made every date night decision. You've made a lot too, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's important.
Well, you
Just
very much shared responsibility.
yes,
Like you're not, you're okay with giving up a certain level of, I think, control in the sense to where you don't need to do everything. You don't have to be 100% responsible. You are much more a person that wants shared responsibility between you and me.
I think so. I think so. I think that
Some
is
people
pretty
aren't like
accurate.
that. Some people, there's people out there who they're the planners. They're the people they have to be in control of the plans.
Right.
They have to, make all the reservations. They have to do all the things. Like
Yeah.
they've got to have it under their thumb.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense because my grandma was that person. She was the planner, and my grande papa would be like, I don't know, I don't know where we're going. Just
Ask your grandma.
yeah, ask your grandma, and I do the driving.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that works though, that
Yeah,
some people
it
that's,
did.
so I think um, I know that's how you are though,
With
with
shared
us.
responsibility,
Yeah.
100%. That's accurate. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last and final one, which is my definite number one love language, is physical touch. And this is not just about sex. This is about closeness, comfort. I mean, I'm talking about, hugging, holding hands, when we walk, like
Slapping your
cuddling.
butt
So yes, you
when
walk
you walk
past
by.
me, smack my butt. If you don't, that means you don't love me. Um, like I'm a very affectionate person, and that
Right.
wasn't something I realized until we started dating because I wasn't able to be that affectionate before.
Hmm.
And that's just because the people in my past relationships, I don't think, physical touch wasn't something on there. I mean, they would probably disagree, but they're only thinking sex. Like sex is not the
Okay.
same as physical touch. Now that's important for sure.
Definitely.
But, like I come up to you and hug you like how many times a day, or I just come up to you and like stage five, just I'm like, get in one in your skin.
Get in my space. Yeah.
It puts the lotion in my
And
skin.
when we walk around, we hold hands
You hold
and
my hand when we're in the car.
yeah. And when we get out of the car, go into like the grocery store, I grab your hand. I walk on the outside of the of on the sidewalk, chivalry and whatnot. But it's
Yeah.
uh it's super important to you as it's important to me too.
Hmm.
And about the I can't tell if for me, and maybe you can tell me, but if for me acts of service or physical touch is more important. I've had a real hard time really deciding which one is more important for me. I think they're equally important in different aspects.
Well, one thing you could ask yourself, or you could ask like your partner, for you, what is the way you feel loved the most? If you could think of a way, how do you feel loved the most by me? What would that look like?
Oh, I like that.
Because I feel like, and it's not that you have to only have one love language. I mean, I think most people have a combination of them,
Hmm.
but there's definitely one or two that outweigh the other. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think I have two that are the acts of service and physical touch. Those are my top two, and I think everything else just kind of goes below those, but
yeah.
it's hard placing one above the other. And I love that question because what does that look like? If you were to ask me that question, what does that look like? I think physical touch more than anything because when we don't touch or when, we don't hold hands or I feel like you're mad at me or something.
Which
I'm
rarely
like,
never happens.
is everything okay? Is something wrong?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
there?
Like when you walk past me, if you don't touch my butt, I'm like, so you don't love me anymore? So you just,
Yeah.
are we fighting now?
Yeah.
What's wrong?
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
it's a real question and because not just sexual, but I think you have to have that human contact.
Hmm.
In my opinion, I think people that don't want that or that maybe it's awkward and weird to them, it's not bad, but it just that wouldn't work for me in a relationship.
Yeah.
Somebody that doesn't, and that was the marriage I was in, there was not a whole lot of that, just, random physical touch. I was always groping her or I was,
Groping.
right, yeah, I was being accused of groping her and I was always disgusting if I went behind her and smacked her butt or something,
Yeah.
so people are so different in that some people you require it and other people don't. And I don't think that's bad either way. It's just different. And for me in our relationship or any relationship that I've been in, that's a huge one for me. We
Hmm.
have to be able to touch each other. And I feel like that's how I make a better connection with
Yeah.
you. And I'm a huggy person anyway. I mean,
Well, yeah.
when we go see our friends or whatever, I hug them, and
Yeah.
I even tell my guy friends that I love them. That's just
Well, and I think about too, it's really important for me, kiss in the morning, kiss goodnight.
definitely.
Like that's, don't you dare, don't you dare leave this house
Yeah.
without giving me a kiss. And I don't care if you just kissed me 10 minutes ago, before you open that freaking door, you better kiss me again.
Yeah.
you know. And then at night, you always kiss me goodnight and we snuggle and we cuddle for about 10 minutes and then we're like, okay.
Well, your body temperature
Yeah.
gets an inferno red, so
Yeah, it certainly does. But my top two would definitely be physical touch, and my second one would be words of affirmation. I am much of a show back up what you say with actions, which I know might seem like that's more of acts of service, but to me, if you love me and you say you love me and you say I'm great and you
mhm.
know all these wonderful things, well, that's there's a physical part to that too. You can't just say that and then not come, not kiss me, not touch me, not
Oh yeah.
be affectionate
Yeah.
with me, not be loving with me, unless you want something, that doesn't count. You can't be,
Come and touch you because I want an act of service.
yeah, you want me to service you,
Right.
but you've been a dick all day. No.
Yeah.
But and I think being mindful of each other's love languages,
Mhm.
our primary one is physical, so it makes things a lot easier for us. And acts of service, I already know that for you. And I think you already know for me, it's words too.
Right. Yeah.
But I think there's also differences in maybe how you show love versus receive love. I know receiving love for me is physical touch and words of affirmation. Showing love, I think you should show love in the way that your partner's love language is.
Okay.
Ours just happen to align.
Right.
Like, for the most part, I know I can be physical with you. That's going to show you that I love you. But instead of texting you or telling you, babe, you're just so sexy, you're so hot, or you're doing such a great job, and I'm really proud of you. Yeah, I know you appreciate that, but I feel like you would appreciate the acts
Yes.
of service more than the words.
Yep. And here's why, because this is not a dig at you, but I honestly don't give a shit what people think about me, and I don't care what they say about me. And that's, I don't know, maybe a defense mechanism of mine that I've built over my traumas, but it is in my life, and kind of what that looks like to me is I don't need that. I don't need the positive affirmations, or even hell, the negative ones, because I do want you to tell me you love me, and I want you to tell me
That
on
you're
a
amazing.
daily that you love me, and if I do something for you, I definitely want you to say thank you. But that positive affirmation to me isn't just it
Yeah.
just doesn't.
So that's why, when you don't know your love language or your partner's, it's like you're both, speaking different dialect
Yeah,
of the same
100%.
emotion, and it just
Yeah, you're trying to
doesn't
love
land
each
well.
other, but it's you guys are so
Hmm.
just maybe not even on the same train. You guys, one person riding the bus, one person riding the train, and
Yeah.
it's just you guys aren't even on the same level, and that's part of the reason for this podcast episode is maybe to give awareness, because like we said, we didn't even know for about until about three
Hmm.
years ago what this is, and if we can help identify some of those for you, that's really what we're trying and hoping to do for you, the audience. And I think knowing what your own love language is just as important as knowing the other person's. And like you said, being able to love someone in their love language. And do you think, a question for you, do you think it's harder if, say, I was, I don't know, words of affirmation was my number one, and you didn't really have that in your repertoire of things? Do you think you would be able to love me in my love language? Because I
Well,
think
I
it would be
think
hard.
I think you should say, because like my answer to that automatically would be no, because I know how that feels. I know how to do that.
Mhm.
That's one of my top two. But let's say your primary love language was receiving gifts.
Okay.
Now that one might take me some time because, you know, you would have an expectation of receiving something in
Mhm.
order to make you feel loved by me. And if I'm at the store, for example, and I go and I get what I need to do, or I'm sorry, get what I need to get, and I go home and then you're all of a sudden like all upset or pouty because
Right.
you were expecting me to, like come home and get you, like,
Get me something. Yeah.
give you a little
Right.
gift or,
Pouty McPouty face. Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to think. That's just the only one that I feel like maybe it would be harder for me just to get used to. And
Okay.
that's what it is you just have to learn it and get used to it.
Yeah.
I think people who don't like physical touch, because there are people out there,
Mhm.
if you're with someone whose primary love language is physical touch, that's where I feel like that one is tough
Yep.
because you're like, "Oh, get off of me. Don't touch me." And they're like, let
Yep.
me let me love you. Let me love you. And they're like, don't touch me.
Yeah.
That one is that would be tough.
That's
Like if you're
yeah.
if you didn't have, yeah, oh my God, if your physical touch was like way at the bottom, which I've been in that before, this I don't know that I'd be able to do that. I don't
No.
know.
No, I couldn't. It would revert me back to the past, my past marriage, and it just won't.
Hmm.
It just won't happen again. It won't
Yeah.
work. And I know that now. I didn't know that when I was in my 20s, but yeah, it's definitely something that would be hard.
Yeah.
The physical touch one, if the other person is like, get the hell off me.
Yeah. Or if you're in the opposite, you're acts of service or you're doing acts of service and they're like, and you're like, I do so much for them, but they don't ever notice or they don't say anything. And
Mhm.
it's because you're doing acts of service, but they need quality time,
Yeah.
so they just see it as nothing.
Hmm.
because they just want quality time.
Yeah, or somebody's giving you gifts, but you
They
don't
want,
you don't want gifts. You just want to be positively reinforced. You need those affirming words. It would definitely play a huge role in, I guess, it probably would cause conflict for sure.
Mhm.
And you may not even know why.
Right. Trauma can also reshape how we experience love. So if you grew up being ignored, um,
Hmm.
not really paid attention to, then words of affirmation might feel like something fake, you know.
Makes sense. Yeah.
A- And if touch was used manipulatively or not at all, or you were, in an abusive home, then physical affection could feel uncomfortable and, red flags or what is it, your fight or flight, your
Fight or flight.
purity
Yeah.
modes going off.
That's what's crazy, I think, about mine because I grew up in an abusive childhood, where my mother hit and punched me since I can ever remember. And physical touch is still my, like we said earlier, number one or number two. And for some people, that may be flip-flopped, right? Like
Yeah, I agree
it
too.
can it can trigger that memory in people, and I really wonder why, I guess, if you know taking rape and all of that out of the equation, will just, obviously that's disgusting and awful, but with physical abuse, I wonder if that is normal for someone to have that, am I normal because I still want physical touch,
Well, I
you
would
know?
I would ask the question too, does it make a difference, male or female? Does it
Mm,
and also the other person or people that were physically abusive. So for example, son, mother, father, daughter, father, father, or father,
right.
father, father, son, mother, daughter.
Well,
If
maybe,
that has some sort of mental like
yeah,
aspect to why you don't shy away or maybe because it stopped at a certain age and you were able to grow up for a period of, I mean, it stopped when you were 14, 15, so
yeah,
you had maybe more time to
kind of grow out of it, or grow up and kind of get past that.
maybe, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just speculating, but I do think that yeah, it could be maybe
Come
too
on,
where
doc, give me some.
yeah. Well, and like if you were if a touch was used manipulatively or not at all, it could make it to where you also, I think, crave it. But I think there's a lot of psychology behind that, and I am not a psychologist.
No,
But
neither am I, but there's definitely some psychology behind it when it comes to trauma.
mhm. So this isn't trauma. I mean, I grew up in a good household. I didn't have, abusive family or anything like that. So, but my family wasn't very affectionate or like, we didn't, I don't know, I don't remember like hugging my parents or
Oh,
just,
really?
yeah, I mean, we could have, I don't know. I don't remember my household being super like physically affectionate though. And I don't know if that's why I've always craved, physical touch or something and that sort of affection. I have no idea. Could be wrong. But
I'm sure your parents hugged you and showed you love for sure. They are very nice
saying they
people.
didn't. I'm not saying they didn't at all. Yes, my parents are great. But I'm just like I don't remember um, coming home and like, oh, let me give you a hug or like a hug goodnight or but I think the same in the same respect, like I don't give Kelly a hug every night before she goes to bed.
Yeah, just
I didn't I
say
mean when
goodnight,
they were
love you.
young, yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that.
Are you struggling with anxiety, depression, and it's not letting you release the grudges you hold? We have a solution for you. The new Bravenly Adapt helps your mind and body rise to the challenge. Whether you're pushing through a busy workday or seeking calm in the chaos, this 8 functional mushroom blend designed by naturopathic doctors helps you thrive in every aspect of your life.
Personally, I have been taking this every day since February, and it has done so much for me mentally and physically. I feel like my cognition, decision making, and overall mental state has just seen such a big improvement. I feel more positive and just overall a sense of happiness. So, visit our link in the description to grab your bottle of Adapt. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, and I think though, if your needs were maybe unmet growing up or whatever, you might not even know what kind of love feels good to you yet. It could be that you just haven't explored or you haven't grown up into or grown into your love language just yet, because they change. They can certainly change.
Oh, I think so. Like I said before, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, you
Yeah, and your body is changing, your nervous system is always scanning for safety. If love hasn't felt safe in the past, it's going to be hard to let it in. And I think that makes such a difference in your growing up trauma versus maybe relationship trauma later in life. Like I said, with my abuse, even though it happened up until I was about 15, I really feel like maybe that positive affirmation, words of affirmation was big to me then, and now it's not. And
hmm
I feel like it just kind of it
Yeah,
grew. And I
you grew and you went through therapy and
yeah,
it kind of helped you move past some of that and to where that doesn't.
yeah, yeah. And it doesn't mean that you're broken. It just means that your body's still protecting you uh, when you're going through and healing. It's learning how to give love. It's learning how to receive it. You know, you're constantly evolving and hopefully growing as a person, and growing up.
Exactly. And we're all going to grow up someday.
I don't want
Some
to grow
people
up. I'm a Toys R Us kid.
some people are still not grown up, but
Well, age is just a number. Maturity is a
that
whole
is
different
true.
thing.
Maturity is a whole different thing.
Which love language do you think gets overlooked the most? We kind of talked about that between ourselves and which one you think is the most important, but which one do you think?
What's your opinion?
Yeah, what's your opinion? What do you think gets overlooked the most?
And, what is your love language? What do you wish your partner understood about it?
Hmm.
Um, have you asked that question to your partner? In what way do you feel loved by me? Like how do I or how do you feel most loved by me? What is it that I do that makes you feel most loved? And then having them ask that to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think having a understanding of what the 5 love languages are makes a big difference too.
Absolutely. It's very helpful in relationships. I think it's helped ours.
It has, and knowing what your person's love language is, and then also knowing yours can really be beneficial to growing together, or seeing it as a red flag and be like, well, maybe
Yeah.
maybe this isn't
You
gonna
know,
work out.
I don't
Yeah.
think this is gonna, yeah, and ending things maybe sooner than you would have previously because you didn't know what you didn't know.
And that's okay because there's plenty of people out there, and there's no need to put yourself through grief and anger. And I chose happiness over everything else when I divorced my daughter's mom. And that was really my whole motto for doing it is I chose happiness.
I would say the same for both of my marriages, but
Yeah.
there was a lot more to it than that.
Yeah. Choosing happiness and being the best version of yourself is more imperative than anything else.
Yes, because as I said before, if you're not good for you, you can't be good for anyone else.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. So tag someone who needs to hear this or, you know, play it for your partner. Be like, hey, we should really talk about this.
Definitely.
But that's the end of that.
Well, like and subscribe to our channel, and that's the easiest way to stay in touch with us. Leave a comment if you liked it. Hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Are you looking for a brand that supports mental health? Find the Good brand. With Find the Good brand, they give back 10% of their profits to Mental Health America, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting mental health and well-being right here in the United States. When you go to findthegoodbrand.com, use code TouchMyHealth and you'll get 10% off your next order. I'm wearing their Health is Wealth trucker hat. With Find the Good brand, they remind you to find the good. It's everywhere. Thank you for joining us today. If you learned something and our stories resonate with you, subscribe to our podcast. That's a zero-cost way to support our channel. You can also follow us on Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok. They're linked in the description of the episode. We'd love for you to put any questions, comments, or suggestions for future episodes in the comment section on YouTube. We'll read them all. Again, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate your interest. And as always, we remind you to be the best version of yourself. See you next time on the Touch My Health podcast.